So the big question is this: how do investors like us who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
Hey guys, John Wooten here with the Stock Market Geekers podcast. Super excited today to talk to you guys about the 3 asset types. There's something pretty interesting here. We'll put a little fun twist at the end because these are kind of things I've been thinking about for a while and never really heard about for a very, very, very long time. And I just kind of wish I knew about it a little bit earlier. So with that said, top 3 asset classes. I'll talk about 9 to noon, but basically looking at real estate, paper assets, and business. Now, obviously, paper assets, that's where I'm huge at. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I want to sort of start looking holistically, like, at all 3 of these, because when you think about it, you know, business, when I say business, I don't mean like business management. I don't mean, you know, going out there and working for someone to be part of their business. You know, what I'm talking about really is like owning a company that generates revenue. So for me, right, that would be like Monerad's, right? That's a company. We have systems and practices in place and employees and clients, and they pay money whether or not, you know, I'm working 20 hours a day or 2 hours a day because of the results that we create in the marketplace, right? That's what I mean by business. It's something that is an asset because it pays you. Remember, that's what we're looking at with the word asset, is something that pays you, which allows you to create financial freedom and have, you know, whatever you want in your life because you're able to buy back your time, right? And that's a really powerful concept, this idea that instead of working for someone, you can use the money, the cash flow that comes from companies, investments, assets, paper assets, or real estate assets, the cash flow that kicks off that to generate enough income to free yourself from the need to be trapped working for, you know, a boss or something. And it's a really, really, really powerful place to be. So that's what I mean by business. But I want to start off with real estate, because real estate is interesting because all 3 of these basically, you know, I'm walking to go to some place to study and then eat breakfast and then go to the class today, right? And it's like math and stuff like that, and there's tests and whatever. But like, do you think they're going to teach me business in that class? They're going to teach me real estate in that class? No, right? In traditional education systems, like basically all 3 of these assets, they're not taught, like ever. You know, I didn't see a class in high school or in college about technical analysis. There's like investing stuff and real estate stuff, a little bit, mostly investing stuff, but it's like higher level finance classes, and they're geared so much more towards corporate finance jobs, right? So for instance, at Tech, there's the Skeller School of Business, right? Super awesome stuff. Everyone there's amazing, right? And they do an amazing job at educating people to go out and get jobs, which is obviously what the point is, right? And then, you know, like they have a bunch of really cool entrepreneurship stuff here. Definitely not bashing on like the school system, but like you got to look at it, right? So I go into this, you know, I've got other classes, but at the School of Business, I try to make time to drop in on classes. I've dropped in on graduate level classes, master's classes, just other management classes, business classes, because I'm doing computer engineering, but I'm like, what do these guys learn in business? Figured out in accounting, they learn stuff like GAAP, which is cool, I guess. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like wrote a book on that, so I don't know if that's like the best use of my time and tuition. But it's interesting because I go into this stock class and they're talking about like takeovers, share buybacks, some pretty, you know, basic stock corporate information. And there's a really big focus on the underlying company, which is great. You know, super important for swing trades and long-term investments is to know what the heck you're investing in. And you have the students and they're asking questions like, well, how would a share buyback affect the company? And what was really interesting was the way the guy, at least from what I saw, right, answered the question. He said, well, an astute investor would measure that into his portfolio analysis and affect his balance weightings accordingly. Like, what's that mean? What is an astute investor? I hate this idea that those who go out there and push to build up assets and build up wealth are somehow different than the majority of people. Like, separating college kids who have access to financial markets. Like, I got my ass in stocks. Like, it's not, what's the difference between me and the guy next to me, right? What's the difference between an investor and an astute investor? Like, it's this idea of trying to classify wealth, because a lot of people, they have like these negative associations with money, and I think that's what stops a lot of people from going into the three major asset classes: real estate, paper assets, and businesses. Is this limiting belief of I shouldn't have money, or maybe they come up in a family where every time they accrued a large mass of wealth or just any kind of capital base, they just spent it instantly, or they just flushed it out because money's evil or crap like that. And it's this idea of like, well, what are these people really thinking about money that causes them to look up at wealthy people as astute investors, or people that are totally different from them? Or maybe it's just really, really, really freaking interesting. And it sucks because a lot of people, they have like this interior belief that they shouldn't have large amounts of wealth, and because of that, what you think becomes a reality. So all I think about is having massive amounts of wealth, and that becomes a reality. But if you're on the other side of that, it's just going to hurt, just going to hinder, because those thoughts become a reality. So getting back to the asset types, right? So with real estate, or with investing, right? So obviously, I wrote 9 to Noon, and I've had PhDs in finance tell me that they're teaching their senior, junior level kids the information that is in that book, which is freaking crazy. Because like, I don't think you should have to get like a PhD in finance to learn how to invest. Like that's bogus. And that lady was from the University of Chicago. Like, that's a freaking good school. And you've got to be in finance for multiple years to understand some very, I would say, basic investing concepts. I mean, 9 to Noon isn't like, here's how to trade credit default swap spreads on an equity-based leverage basis. Like, no. It's like, here's how to trade stocks and other assets really, really well. But a lot of people don't know how to do that. Or just invest, if you don't want to spend the time, the hour or two a month it takes to go through a couple of swing trades that double your return. Oh my God. But people, remember that money mindset, right? That belief that you have to deserve, right? For me, that belief that I deserve, it came from, whoa, that's a salad on the ground. It came from like losing 50 pounds and getting 6-pack abs, and like going and working for a year and spending months and months of time researching like about paper assets and stocks. Holy gosh, dude, there is this huge spider. Like, it is massive. It is, wow. I'm telling you guys, you wake up at 4 in the morning and you're going to start to really appreciate some of the finer things in life, because like, there's so much cool stuff that happens when it's just a quiet, chirpy morning. But anyway, that was sort of the process I went through to deserve, and it's different for everybody, and I know it is. But I do think one of the best things you can do to feel like you deserve is to go through, at least if you're in a position where you're, overweight, go through a transformation. I've got a lot of stuff I just give away about body and weight loss and creating 6-pack abs with 9 to noon. It's just because I think that's so important, right? It's this idea that you have to visualize yourself as deserving before you really are going to have that massive success. So with that said, that's kind of what I was looking at with paper assets. Obviously, I mean, you guys know how to get more information on that. And then real estate and business are these two other ones where I'm sort of getting more into, getting into business for about a year, 2, 3 years. Not as long as paper assets, but pretty important stuff, because what's cool with business, see, the reason I like stocks over real estate, right, is with real estate, you gotta manage your stuff, and you can get a property manager, but like it's a lot of work. You gotta do like taxes, and I'm super big fan of it. I mean, I'll probably have some real estate, sure, big multi-unit, office building, stuff like that. I mean, those are solid investments. But like that's kind of tough to do, and the returns, I mean, what do you make, like 10, 15, 20, 50% a year high end? But usually it's probably like 10 or 15%, 20% a year, and for a pretty sizable amount of work. I mean, I make like 10% a trade. I try to target like 10% a day in the market, and so it just doesn't really, because with stocks you just buy and sell, and then you're done. You don't have to sign contracts or fly somewhere to inspect a building. It's just a lot less work. It's just a lot easier. And long-term investments too that are going to yield, similar results, if not better, if you use active swing trade, at least like 1 or 2 or 3 hours a month swing trading. I mean, I made 80% on flowers in the past month. Like, how long will that take to do in real estate? I don't know. I've seen a lot of guys, and I know a lot of guys in real estate, and they're absolutely crushing it. So I guess it just kind of depends on like what your thing is, because I mean, there are definitely ways besides long-term investing in real estate. So you can like flip houses, or short-term market. You get it really low and you sell it really high, or you sell it sort of low but higher than you bought it, stuff like that. And it's enticing. There's good ways to make money. I think you just kind of have to see, there are these three assets, right? And the journey I've gone through, I've started with paper assets. I'm now moving into business, and later I'll probably get into real estate, right? So it's this idea that like you want to start with one, and then do insanely well with one, because you gotta stay focused, right? So when I was learning about stocks, it made no sense for me to, I mean, except for maybe like creating a business asset, but that's really not what a business asset, just like the legal stuff, it's important to have the proper tax, set up so that you don't pay taxes. And this is all stuff that I give away, in way more detail with 9 to noon, is like not paying taxes with proper corporate entities, which is awesome. It's saved me, a lot of money. It will continue to save me a lot of money for years and years and years and decades to come. Just having the education and knowing that stuff. But it's different, right? So you go really, really hard on one thing, because, like I said, not taught in school. So what are your options? Your options are to do it yourself, or spend, at least it used to be, spend thousands of dollars for seminars, courses, and stuff like that. I mean, at least, before I wrote 9 to noon, like the point with that was that you wouldn't have to do that, right? You just buy a freaking book. And so that's kind of what I'm passionate about, is lowering that educational barrier to entry into finance, so that more and more people can start learning about the three asset types through paper assets, which are, financial markets, guys, are insanely powerful. They're just ridiculous. The land opportunity, it is insane. Whoa, that's pretty sweet street cleaner. So we got paper assets, then we'll go over to real estate, right? So we talked about real estate. Real estate's freaking sweet. Again, probably my area of least experience right now. Probably, honestly, because, when I started investing, I was like, 15, 16, I was pretty much 15. And when I was 15, like I couldn't really get a loan from a bank. At least I don't think I could have. I don't really know how I could have gotten a loan from a bank to buy like a rental property. And I didn't really know how to like flip houses or stuff like that. And I was working minimum wage jobs, and I swear it was the funniest thing. I was like 15 years old, and I went with my mom to this pitch, right, this seminar at night, and it was like how to, make money with Damon John, and then Damon John wasn't there, and then there was like these guys just standing up there pitching. It was the coolest thing. I'd never seen a seminar before. And we get there, and there's like ladies everywhere greeting everyone. Everyone's like in their 30s or 40s, and then it's like me and my mom and my brother were sitting in the back, and I'm like sitting there taking notes because there was some gold there on starting an Amazon business, business assets. It was a long time ago when Amazon businesses were just coming up, and they were like, this is how you drop ship products, and oh my god, I remember it. It was a long time ago, but it was so fun. And remember, right, like that didn't happen in the education system. I swear, I went to that seminar. It was about 5 minutes away from my high school, and it was at 7 at night, and so probably like 2 or 3 hours, and it was one of the best educational experiences I had. I learned more there than I learned, in months and months of high school. Applicable to the marketplace, I don't even know if I remember like, half the classes. I don't know. It's weird. It's this argument of like, school expands your brain and stuff like that. But I mean, if you can't use the stuff, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm probably too young to know, really. I don't know, man. We'll see. It's interesting. So we go to this seminar, and there were 2 pitches. The first pitch was sign up for the program on how to start an online business with Amazon, which was sick. I was like, dude, they showed how like they were selling belts and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month by selling one belt, and it was the coolest thing. And then so I see that, and I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I just took all these notes on this, like I want this. And then the guy, I'd never been to a seminar before, so he says, if you're interested in this, raise your hand and stand up. So I rose up and I stood up. And then, he says, hey, walk to the back of the room, right? Because at the back of the room, they have the table with all the people that close the deals. And then, you pay them, I think it was like $4 or $5 product. And so I walked to the back of the room, like all by myself. And I was like, yeah, I want this. And I look down at this paper, and it's like $5,000. And I'm like, shit, I don't have $5,000. So I was like, well, what do I do? And they were like, put in your credit card information. I was like, what? What? I didn't have a credit card. So that didn't really work. So I go and I sit down, and I'm like, well, what do I do? And my mom's like, well, I guess you're not going to have it, dude. And it's interesting. This was a long time ago. And again, it brings up that question of resources, cash in the bank account, versus resourcefulness, finding a way to make it happen. I don't know, it was a long time ago. So we keep learning, and I actually filled up, they gave us notepads. I didn't know we were supposed to bring a freaking notepad. I'd never been to a seminar before. So they give us, and the way we got here was they just sent us like some direct mail. And I was like, dude, I want to go to that. I'm going to start a business with Damon John. So that's how that happened. And so, anyway, we get to this, we go sit back down, and then this new guy comes up, right? So it's like, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm very glad that I just made like 80 grand. You guys are sick. It was probably I'd say 40, 50, 60 people there. It was in like a church. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was like sort of an event space. So, new guy comes on stage, and now he's talking about real estate, right? So he's talking about second kind of asset. And he talks about, I think I've seen this guy probably pitch like 3 or 4 times. at different seminars, or at least someone that works for him. Like, it's this guy that like is like, hey, here's all the money you can make. You're gonna get rich in real estate. You're gonna get access to millions of dollars of funding, and it's gonna be the best thing you'll ever do. And honestly, this guy's pretty freaking cool. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name or what he sells. But I'm sure I'll see him again in the next couple of years when I'm not as focused on business and stocks, and probably buy that stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you guys know, probably on the 9 to noon back end place, or someplace, about how that goes. Because real estate, I mean, dude, it's sick, right? You make a ton of money doing whatever the heck you want. You just have to apply yourself to one thing and pick it and crush it. So anyway, he goes up and awesome notes. You know, it was a little bit less content than the earlier guy, which is probably why he sold more, because he was selling more than teaching, which is sick, you know, works. Because obviously you can't change someone's life in 90 minutes. So you really do have to get your product in their hands to have an impact on them. Like, I could record thousands of podcast episodes, but none of them would really come across, or get the information across that's in 9 to noon. Because that book, I mean, I spent half a year, 7-8 months writing that book. And then, I mean, like I can't really just, I mean, it was like, 40, 50 hours a week doing that, you know, and it's like everything is in the product. And so it's kind of that focus on getting the product to the people, because that's what's going to have the biggest impact on them. So anyway, pitches, learned some really cool stuff. And like I said, I filled up my notepad, right? So they gave us notepads. Filled up my notepad. I had to take my mom's notepad and start writing on hers. I was taking so many freaking notes, which is awesome, guys. I remember a lot of stuff from that seminar. I remember a lot of stuff. I mean, that was years and years ago. And I remember more from that seminar than I probably remember from like freshman year of high school. And it's all because I was there taking notes, paying attention, and bam, right? So please, if you get a chance, you know, there's stuff in your area, take notes. So he pitches his product. His product was like, I don't remember, it was a long time ago. It was a couple $1,000s. And my mom had already sufficiently convinced me that it was a bad idea to go to the back of the room, which sucks. I think that's kind of a limiting belief that I've had with me for a long time, where I didn't want to buy like multi-$1,000 educational programs. Originally it was because I wasn't, you know, physically able to. But now later, it's interesting to see that pattern emerge in a lot of my life. You know, I just spent like $4,000 on the FBS Secrets course, the you know, software, all that stuff, and that's all for building an online business, right? Building a company and sales funnel, stuff like that. And I talk a lot about it more, you know, over in the 9 to noon, you know, general area. But you gotta understand, like everything about that comes from that education, comes from that software, comes from that content. There's no real way to create that online business without stuff like that, right? So that's sort of drifting away from real estate and more into online business, and to finalize real estate. Basically, you know, it's cool stuff, and you can learn it from the pros, right? And that's what I try to do, is I try to be a pro people can learn from in paper assets. That's what my background's in. It's what I do. It's what I love. And it's, you know, the main asset class that I pursue next to business, right? So yeah, real estate's freaking sick. It's just this idea of like, what do you love? A lot of people love real estate. I'm not really sure why. Personally, not a huge fan of like buying houses, and most of the money is in like big apartment buildings or multi-family complexes from what I've seen. Again, not my background, so if you're crushing it in homes, I don't know, flipping houses, I know that works well, so, you know, you do you, right? Like, that's not me. So then we get to businesses, and here's where you really, really get to, you know, if you look at like the cash flow quadrant, you've got like employed, self-employed, but then you've got business and investor, and that's really, really where you want to be. And with businesses, you're looking at like having systems in place and a ton of employees. I think, you know, cash flow quadrant is pretty aggressive. He's like, you have to have 500 employees to be a real business. I was like, dude, that's a lot of employees, man. So I guess that's something to work towards in the future. which is sick. Dude, these guys. All right, so I'm on frat row, and they're like parties. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning. What the heck, man? People shouldn't be awake. Oh, man. Whatever. So, I think I can go this way. I am nearing the destination this morning. I do have to study for that math test in a couple hours. So, yeah, so I've been working. You never since I published the book, I've been pretty serious about getting financial education and literacy into more people's hands. Just as like, a side thing from trading and investing, which is, my thing. And so that's kind of led me to work a whole lot in online businesses, online marketing, and setting up, alongside Monero Ads. Obviously, Monero Ads has been running for 2 years now, and, we're still growing. I'm pretty excited for all the things that have come from that. But it sort of stems from this idea, right? If you can put in the time, concentrated effort right now, early on, to build this business asset, that thing will pay you for decades and decades to come. Most of my overarching long-term goals, as much as I love trading, it only gets you so far. I'd say, it's very, very, very scalable, but it's difficult to make billions of dollars trading. I'd say you make like hundreds of millions. And then once you make hundreds of millions day trading or trading 9 to noon, you kind of run into liquidity problems because there just aren't hundreds of millions of shares traded oftentimes in 9 to noon stocks. And you have to get more into swing trading where you can only make like 10% a week or something like that, which is not that bad when you got $1 billion. Oh my God. Anyway, I know a lot of people that are in that situation, and I promise you they are crushing it. It's not a problem. The stock market is just so scalable, and that's what it's really an exciting part about it for me, is this idea, if I want to scale in real estate, I got to hire a bunch of people to like go to, at least from what I know, it's tough. If you want to buy 15 buildings a week, you got to have some kind of team and process for that. Like, that's a lot of work. But if you want to scale your business to 15 exit, per week, all you need are more systems to take care of stuff, and then just more managers for your clients, right? You're not individually looking at properties or individually assessing investments. But with the stock market, you don't need more clients, you don't need more employees, you don't need more work. All you need to do to 10x your investment is put another 0 on the share counter. So if you're going to buy 10 shares, buy 100 shares. You buy 100 shares, buy 1,000 shares, Just put another 0 on it, and that's it, It's the exact same amount of work to buy a share as just to buy 1 million shares. And so that's kind of what really, really got me going with it, is this idea that, like, you're infinitely scalable with the same amount of work. So that's kind of my paper assets thing. Probably like the number one thing to master. And then the path I'm going down, it's business is number 2, because business, a lot of people use business first, like if they don't have startup capital to invest in assets, which is cool, because businesses are probably easier to go from 0 to like a bajillion. Paper assets, you kind of need just a little bit of cash to start. It's this idea, because in real estate you can start with no money, and people are always like, oh, you don't need money to make money, which is totally true. You get resourceful and you can make it happen. But with equities, you can't really trade stock if you don't have enough money to buy the stock. And then it's this idea of like, yeah, but you can like borrow money, but that's some risky, sketchy stuff, man, because you don't want to lose other people's money, especially if you're just starting out. If you lose other people's money, that's not a good thing, man. Not a good thing. Debt, I don't know, it's just this difference between obviously personal debt and business debt, but you don't want to, I don't know, it's risky. It's tough stuff. It's a tough conversation to have. It really is. But it's sick stuff if you get really good at it. You need to go out there and absolutely crush it. So, yeah, guys, those are the 3 main asset types. Pick one, absolutely crush it with that one, and then move on to master the other 3. And it's kind of like all an experience game. So probably the best thing you can do is find someone who's really, really good at whatever you want to do, and just kind of copy what they do. There's real life mentors are are really the place you want to be at. And it's just going to have this huge, huge, huge impact on everything you do. So it's really cool stuff, guys. Hope you get a ton of value from this. Go out there, apply it, crush it, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Want more stock market secrets? If so, go get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You can get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% per trade daily.